Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Skylight Books podcast series. You're in for another Better Than the Movie. I'm your co-host, Justin Remer.
I'm Allan Traylor.
I'm Tyler Austin.
And Better Than the Movie is a show where we get together with a talented guest to discuss movie adaptations of books. Today's talented guest is the host of the Your Favorite Bad Movie podcast. And I literally tried to remember the title of your previous podcast, and it just left me. It's Uncle Monster's...
Oh, Uncle Monster's Spooky Time Fright Hour.
That's so easy. You can't remember that, dude?
So yeah, of course
it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Of course, you remember the 6 seasons of that, in addition to listening to every episode of your favorite bad movie pod, which you should. I was recently on it. We talked about the Apple. It was delightful.
Absolutely.
But anyhow, his name is Chris Andersen.
Hi, that's me. I'm Chris Andersen.
Yeah. Would have been a great time for reverb.
Oh,
Ah, dang it. Hang on. Let me take that one again.
Oh yeah. Take two.
Hi, that's me. Yeah, I'm Chris Andersen.
Oh,
yes.
So good.
Wow. I doubted Allan
All
in
right.
my own mind, and
I don't
then
know
it turned
why.
out that was a score.
Told you.
I'm glad we went back for that one. That was worth doubling back.
Yeah, that was worth picking up for sure. And today we are discussing a graphic novel by Daniel Clowes, a film directed by Terry Zwigoff and written by both Zwigoff and Clowes, entitled Ghost World.
Oh, sort of thought you were yeah, I was like waiting for the... Oh, there it is.
That one took a second to load.
Anyhow, yes, Ghost World, the film from 2001, the graphic novel from a little bit before. It was kind of a serial in 8-Ball Comics. Chris, tell me why. I mean, you had some other ideas too, but tell me why you thought Ghost World would be a good one to bring to this podcast.
Well, first of all, I'm not a big prose guy. So I knew I wanted to go for a comic book. But I also knew that one of the most frustrating things that happen when people find out that I'm both a comic book fan and I'm a movie fan is they'll be like, oh, you like the Marvel movies? And you have to be like, well, you know, going to a Marvel movie, it's like spending $100 on McDonald's. It's maybe fun to do.
That sounds awesome to me.
But you just feel bad afterwards, and you definitely don't want to like make it a regular habit, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But for one day, it's glorious.
Yeah, and no one ever, when they think of comic book movies and their sort of rise to cultural dominance, people don't think about movies like Ghost World. You know, people don't think about how The Beach That Makes You Old was a comic book. You know, they don't think about Persepolis. People got to sort of expand their comic book movies. So that's, you know, and that's a great way to elevate comics as an art form, and that's something I'm always, you know, all about. So let's get on our soapbox. Let's sing it on the mountains.
Well, you're a comics maker as well. Am I off base in saying that?
Yes, I would say that I have not made a comic in a while. You might say that I can't make comics, but you certainly can't say I didn't make comics. But yeah, I did a web comic for a while. I wrote a comic that was illustrated by a guy that was serving 25 years in prison for manslaughter.
Wow.
If I remember his thing right. That was a cool project. We couldn't finish it because he got released, and then he had better things to do with his time.
Talk about prison.
No, yeah. Hey, and I'm glad he's out. He's definitely better off. I'd much rather have him be free than have the third comic finished. This is a much better thing for both of us.
Fair. So first segment of the podcast, I like to have folks talk about other things we like in the genre. So in the case of this is our first, I mean, we did talk about Tank Girl for our movie screening.
You're welcome.
But this is the first, I guess, main feed episode that is a discussion of comic book adaptation or graphic novel adaptation. And you already named some titles, but do you have a pick or a couple picks for stuff that you like, Chris?
I mean, yeah, I think Ghost World might be number one. If you want to check out something weird, I definitely recommend checking out Drifting High School, which was an adaptation of Kazuo Umez's Drifting Classroom.
Okay.
But instead of
that
elementary
movie's
school, they
nuts.
set it in a high school, and it had the guy that played Hightower in the Police Academy franchise. He was up in the mix. You had a very young Drake from Drake and Josh up in the mix. It was not good, but it was very strange. Billy Drago was in there.
He's always in there, dude.
Billy
Stringy.
Drago's always there.
His white stringy hair.
Yeah, anytime I see Billy Drago, it just puts a smile on my face. So it's got that going for it.
So wait, this was live action or?
Yes, this is a live action American adaptation.
Oh wow.
It is, really. I think it might have been shot on video. I think it was only ever released on video. I found. I think it might be on YouTube.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It is a brutal 88 minutes in a different way that Drifting Classroom is brutal. A very brutal manga. If you haven't checked it out, I strongly recommend it.
All right. Well, you had mentioned something too about going the other way with a comics adaptation of a film. What was your pick again for that?
For that one, I chose Dr. Giggles.
All right.
They made a Dr. Giggles
I collect. Dark Horse put out 2 issues of an
Holy
adaptation
shit.
of Dr. Giggles, and I collect movie adaptations just because I think they're a really interesting way to examine the differences in the media.
Yeah.
And to
The
also,
E.T. one is
like,
famously fucking crazy. He's like trying to bang Elliot's
which one?
mom. The E.T. one.
Oh,
The E.T.
novelization?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's wild. All of his magic
Yeah.
is trying to impress his mom. It's fucking nuts.
that's smart. That's a smarter play. She probably has a lot more resources than Elliot does.
Yeah, you know.
She's got a car. They don't have to ride bikes
Yeah,
around. He'll
exactly.
take that car right up
Yeah.
on the moon. He'll make that car fly.
Yeah, she's got money.
Yeah.
But Dr. Giggles has a lot of great colors, and Dr. Giggles, I think, is very much an unheralded comic book or unheralded movie. I think people don't talk about it a lot when they talk about sort of great 90s slashers. And I think Dr. Giggles is better than people give it credit. Listeners, check out Dr. Giggles. It's also just really fun to say Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that actor's name? Because he was also Durant in Darkman.
I just know him as
He
Dark
was on
Man
L.A.
guy.
Law.
I have no idea what his name is.
Piercing eyes, though.
Yeah. I remember because that was when I started collecting comic books as a kid. When that movie was in theaters, there was free giveaway pins at the comic store that said Dr. Giggles, and you could either get the one that says the doctor is insane or the doctor is out of his mind.
I like Out of His Mind a lot more.
Yeah.
That's way better.
Yeah, but those...
They both aptly describe Dr. Giggles.
Yeah, it's true. They did accomplish
He
the
had some
assignment.
mental health problems.
this doctor, for sure. All right, Allan, what would you say in the realm of your picks in comics and adaptations of such?
Kind of a lesser known one. I guess I still think Road to Perdition still kind of counts.
Oh, sure.
I still kind of want to do that at some point. May forgot to prepare. Let me see. What? Well, we usually text about this. I for some reason, I totally forgot. I don't know. I'm trying to think of lesser known adaptations. I mean, I already did one, Tank Girl. That was like my big one.
Yeah, I
growing
mean,
up.
And
Tank
that's
Girl,
great.
We had
it
a
was
screening. We had an episode. Yeah.
great. I'll just blurt in and when someone else is talking later. when I
Yeah,
have-
just
when I
just
have
cut
something
someone
to
off.
add, yeah.
Like, for instance, Tyler.
Oh, that's me. Road to Perdition is a good one. That is a good
right?
one. I'll give you some
what I'm
credit for
saying.
that one. That's good. Well, I was thinking of History of Violence.
Oh, yeah.
Is an
yeah.
adaptation
Yeah,
in this vein, certainly of like more kind of Road to Perdition. You know, it's crime.
I kind of like
Cronenberg.
The Killer too.
Oh yeah,
It's a weird movie. The Fassbender.
Oh yeah, it's really
Fincher.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I haven't read the graphic novel of that.
Neither have I. Oh, Blue is the warmest color. It's
Yeah,
also a
that's
graphic
true.
novel, I
That is
just
exactly
realized.
right. Yeah, that is true. What was another one? Oh, Mark Millar's Kick-Ass, which is technically superhero, but
God,
but
that
what
comic
if
is
it's
trash.
edgy?
I hated that comic so fucking much, dude.
I think I have all the
It
issues
is
somewhere in my house,
absolute
probably.
trash.
That's fine. It's kind of good. I don't know.
The main character's modeled off of Eminem, and his whole thing is just like, oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Wanted, the other.
Oh,
shitty
the
Mark
Wanted.
Millar.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
No, Kick-Ass is okay.
Kick-Ass was okay. I mean, it's fine. I
Wanted is the trash one.
It's
yeah.
I haven't revisited it in over a decade, so I couldn't tell you one way or another whether it's good or not. But I remember
We should
being
do
like,
Wanted. We should do the Luma Fade.
Do you want to?
I can't wait to
You
talk
want
about the
to
Luma
curve
Fade.
the bullet?
Yes.
Let's curve the bullet. Let's curve the bullet in this podcast studio and just never leave.
What if we just talk about that movie instead?
We could do it. That is.
I got to say, I'm a little rusty.
No one remembers anything about that movie. Other than
not
the
a
Loom
moment.
of Fate.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing
You got Angelina Jolie and James McAvoy.
Correct. I want to say Ejiofor is maybe in that.
Freeman is in there.
Oh, Morgan Freeman. Maybe that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he'd be perfect for that.
Angelina Jolie giant back tattoo, I want to say.
Sounds right.
I feel like that was the shot from the trailer where they're like, whoa.
I mean, I want to say that
remember.
too, independently of what's happening.
It was a big trailer shot.
Yeah. Anyways, we don't have to talk about Wanted.
I'm trying to think. Stuff from
It
Kick-Ass.
seems like 2025 is going to be the year of Wanted.
The year of Wanted.
Every single episode is
Let's reclaim Wanted. We become a Wanted podcast. People don't understand that's good. Well, actually, also, speaking of McAvoy, Atomic Blonde is a graphic novel
really?
adaptation. It's yeah. Again, haven't seen the graphic novel, but kind of like the movie. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that movie. I love McAvoy in that movie.
McAvoy's awesome in that.
Well, he's always great, but
Yeah, he's going
especially nuts in that one.
He's actually playing his character from Split in that movie. We just didn't know.
Yeah, he's
That's
warmed
how
up for it.
off the chain he is in that movie.
Maybe he's always been playing his character from Split.
That is
in all
actually
of his
true.
movies.
That is true. Well,
Maybe James McAvoy is just another personality.
That's true. Man.
That's
We've
right.
never actually met him.
These have all just been documentaries about James McAvoy.
And they just perfectly splice it in and like, oh, Mackenzie Davis was there too or something. In that new one.
He always has new friends and doesn't know why.
Yeah, just keep showing up. This guy's amazing.
Yeah.
He's nuts. There was one that I teased to Justin that I was going to say.
you were like, you're never going to be like, oh, that's an adaptation?
Of a graphic novel.
So what is it?
Specifically. Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson in Marry Me.
What?
I agree. What?
I thought you were going to say Dick Tracy or something. Like, what?
That Marry Me
We're always
is
talking
based
Dick
on a
Tracy.
graphic novel. We're all talking Tracy, of course.
How do you know that's based on a what?
I looked it up. And not specifically like graphic novel adaptation. When the movie came out, I remember watching it. It was on Peacock. I was like, okay, let's give it a watch. Strange film.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how did this come to be? And you look it up, and it's very distantly somehow the IP is a graphic novel that I want to say is literally like self-published. And I want to say is also maybe more like an American trying to do like a manga. Like I think it actually takes place in Japan.
Okay.
And she's like a pop star, maybe with superpowers. I actually can't remember. But yeah, somehow accidentally marries a fan at a show. And then.
Oh, speaking of American manga, though, All You Need Is Kill.
Oh, well, no, all you need is. And yeah, Edge of Tomorrow /
Edge of Tomorrow /
Live, Die, Repeat.
Live, Die, Repeat. Which
That's.
people don't know how to look at posters.
That's a tough one. Right, exactly. They're like, well, people just keep saying the tagline, so I guess we got to make that the title.
There are other words on there, man. Well, sure.
Would you read from the bottom up or the top down? I don't know.
I guess that's a good point.
Hard to say.
Actually, that tidbit about it being a self-published, that reminds me a little bit of Monkey Bone, which is essentially like based on one comic of a series that never really came to be, and then certainly after Monkey Bone, the film was not successful, really didn't continue.
Well, successful in our hearts, surely. So.
Yeah. Fiscally, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
The fiscal year.
But
I'm
if we want to talk
talking
fiscally,
Yeah, we're
if we
talking
want to talk
numbers.
about fiscally successful graphic novel adaptations, you got to talk Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
about.
hell yeah.
Yes, you do.
The most financially successful independent film of all time, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And one Ninja Turtle for every generation. We're always talking turtles, too. We're talking Dick Tracy and turtles over here.
And Eastman and Laird, they kept on putting that money back in the community. They set up like grants for young artists with all that Ninja Turtle money they made. I got to give a big salute to Eastman and Laird.
All right, good for
Oh,
them.
yeah, kings.
Yeah.
Legends.
Let me see. What were my picks? I also honestly kind of whatever.
Yeah, I feel
Scott-
like Tyler definitely cheated and just like looked up a list beforehand.
Scott-
That felt
Scott
very.
Pilgrim.
I'm sorry. Are you looking for the word prepare? I think you're looking for the word prepare. Did research?
Yeah, okay, research.
Did his job?
Looked at your phone for 5 minutes as research.
Nailed
Okay,
me
sure.
to the cross as
Sure.
the guy who did research, I guess.
Okay.
put my crown of
All right,
thorns on.
You're fuming,
You
sir.
can't both bust on him for not doing very much research and also for doing any research when you did none.
Watch me.
You're really having your
Yes,
cake and
I
eating
can.
it too.
Oh, yeah, he'll slice it both ways, but I can slice
Absolutely.
him right back. It's fine.
Yeah, that's definitely the mode of this particular show. But as I was trying to say, Scott Pilgrim obviously jumps to mind. Both like a movie I enjoy and one where I wish they could have. Like, I wish there had been a series first kind of thing, because, like, there's so much good stuff in, like, basically, like, issues 3, 4, 5, and 6 that they couldn't squeeze in because they're kind of like, well, actually.
But then if they had done the show, we wouldn't got the incredibly strange show that we did get.
That's true.
Which is like a B-side of everything. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, agreed.
It's like an insane experiment that I would have thought, like, impossible. Same cast, and it's just like, we're just going to do it all different.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Which I do, yeah, I do respect the more recent animated show, but yeah. So Scott Pilgrim. Oh, of course, you mentioned Persepolis earlier. I always think of that as a pretty great and fairly faithful adaptation of a graphic novel. I mean, obviously the graphic novelist also was one of the filmmakers, so that helps certainly.
We're also forgetting the best adaptation from a comic book of all time.
Yes.
300.
Sure.
Ooh.
Sure. Yeah.
True banger.
It was a time and a place, man.
I
You
mean,
can't tell me
yeah.
we
Now,
weren't
wait.
all loving that movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Now, are you more into that? Or are you more into the immediate follow-up, Watchmen,
Yeah,
which is
true.
also
I do kind of like that movie, but man, it's hard to defend it sometimes.
first R-rated movie I went to as a 17-year-old. It came out on the weekend of my birthday, my 17th birthday. And I was like,
Okay.
I'm gonna go see that movie.
Nice.
And then Hallelujah
And then
kicks
it
in,
broke
and
you.
you go, oh boy, this is.
I remember
film.
seeing
Yeah.
Watchmen opening weekend, and there was a gal in the crowd that was in a Lady Rorschach cosplay, and that sort of burned its way back into the back of my brain somewhere, I think.
That's
and I-
I
interesting.
kind of hope
Yeah.
she does that for
And
like
I
every
think-
movie. Just Lady Rorschach.
Yeah.
and Joker 2 as Lady Rorschach.
Not to use someone else's, but you reminded me of an amazing SNL sketch from when like the new Phantom, like the new Star Wars, not the Force Awakens, but like when Phantom Menace comes out. There's a sketch, I want to say with Keenan, maybe he was on the show at that point.
I don't know.
And he's like, I'm a normal guy going to see a movie the weekend of Star Wars coming out. And he's like, everyone's just like mad they couldn't get into Star Wars. But he walks into a theater and there's a guy in like a full Jedi costume. And he walks up and he's like, oh, you couldn't get in either? And he goes, no, what? What's Star Wars? That's a joke that's going to live with me.
pretty
for-
good.
It's really good.
It's pretty good.
That's not bad.
All right, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
First.
Oh, we know Spider-Man. Oh, sorry. No.
Come on.
Deep
I mean,
cut.
you can't knock Spider-Man, the Raimi Spider-Man. I think those are great comic book movies.
Spider-Man
I think,
2's
You know, obviously they're good superhero movies.
Yeah.
as good as it gets, probably. Yeah.
Well, if we're dipping in the superhero, it's obviously Blade is Ichiban. That's the best one right there, man.
Yeah, I got to say the Keaton Batman and the Schumacher Batman. I have no beef with those.
Me neither. Love them.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I forget, you and I we saw the Blade trilogy at the New Beverly,
We sure
right?
did.
Yeah.
35 millimeter. Wow. All three.
And saw most of the crowd
You
peel
stuck
out.
around for 3. Huh?
Yeah.
We sure did. Had to.
Saw most of the crowd leave before Blade Trinity, and it's like, come on,
They're
it's
right.
not that late at night.
They were right to do so, though.
And then rewatching, I was like, oh yeah, this is wow. And
Yeah.
now it's 2 a.m. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are
Shoot.
choices we made.
That one's called like Blade Trinity : Tax Troubles, right?
iPad or iPod the movie. Yeah.
Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes won't come out of his trailer as the tax evasion case tightens around him.
The rise of Wesley Snipes' body double.
Yeah.
I think he's in that movie more than he is.
Well, and also, like, one assumes that David S. Goyer's script is mostly just like Ryan Reynolds improv something funny, and then
If it didn't start that way, it certainly became that way.
yeah, and funny,
And you've
in
got
quotes.
Dominic Purcell as Count Dracula.
I know, dude.
The guy from Prison Break as Count Dracula.
Sure.
I mean, I love him, but come on, man.
There's a lot of choices. I should love it more than I do. I should love it more than I do. But it's just kind of bad in a kind of very boring way.
It was a tough sit, especially coming off the high of Blade 2.
And Parker Posey is like trying her best.
Is Beale in 3?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Does Christopherson make it to Trinity?
Yeah, he's like, she is his daughter.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Or some shit, yeah. I fucking hate
Because
that. I know that.
he does die, right? Does he die in?
He dies in all of them, I think.
But keeps coming back.
Well, he definitely dies in 1 and he dies in 3. I don't remember if he dies in 2, but he might die in all the Blade movies.
Fair.
God.
Well, cool. On that
Anyways.
wonderful note, R.I.P. KK.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ghost World. So, Tyler, if you don't mind, sort of being a synopsis guy, we can break in as you do. But are we going comic synopsis, or how do you want to do this? Because they are structured differently for sure.
They are. Maybe we start comic because it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it's
we can
more
kinda-
episodic.
Yeah. Little vignettes. I guess the basic, very general premise is it's Enid and Becky are two 18-year-olds who've just graduated from high school, and it's basically all taking place over the summer before they would go to college. You might call them a little cynical.
You might call them awful.
You might say they're a little tough to be
You might
with.
call them very mean people.
You might call them
Yeah.
mean to themselves, mean to each other, mean to the
everyone.
world. Yeah.
Everyone's catching strays.
Yeah, it's tough. Don Knotts. He's got a couple strays. Basically,
The culture was mad, and because that's the thing. I remember watching this movie when it was new and just being like, "Yes, I feel your venom and I love it."
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, "Ooh, yeah, this is mean."
Yeah, I also felt pretty. I mean, I still think it's whatever. It's a great movie, but like it hit
I
a
think
lot
the
different
graphic
now.
novel was a little bit meaner than the movie.
I
Oh, for
agree.
sure.
It is so much meaner.
I think
For
mostly
sure.
because their delivery was so deadpan that it sort of softened it. Whereas like they seem to be like very joyously cursing each other out in the comic. They always have big smiles when they're being mean in the comic, whereas in the movie they're
Yeah.
very flat. They seem more detached from what they're saying.
Well, a little jump ahead, even when Daniel Close makes his cameo, it's so that he can get shit on by the main characters.
Yeah, and it's like you're writing this, man.
that was so funny. What a great bit. That's so funny. Really, the only way to do that. I think. To be like, hey, this 18-year-old girl's into me.
Well, 'cause it
no,
starts
she thinks
rough.
I'm a creep.
Yeah.
It's good. It's better.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's basically them just kind of bumming around town. They're like nondescript Americana town. Right, like they're in a coffee shop where they think they've seen Satanists who they follow to the grocery store and find out they're buying a bunch of Lunchables. They, which is it's really funny. And then we later learn that that guy has left and never comes back or something. They're just little bits like that. I'm trying to think what else the other big again.
But interestingly enough, the little bits they never remember because they're always just like, yeah, what happened to those people? And it's like you saw his partner being like, I hope he never comes back, and it's like you witnessed that.
It is interesting, the amount of time passing. It definitely makes you feel kind of interesting. Yeah, but because it's only supposed to, I assume it's at least in the
it's over
a few months at most. She's supposed to be trying to get into college. Which boy was the college admissions process different then, as opposed to get it in by this time at this point, and if you don't do that, then you're not getting in here. And it's like I got to take a test, and maybe I'm going across the country. I don't know, and it's the summer. I am but a few weeks away from having to move. If I get a good grade on this test, I'll go there.
I guess.
Changed from that point to at least 10 years later when I was applying to college, certainly. Yeah, I'm trying to think all the other little bits. They call in specifically they go to the personals ad for misconnections. They call a guy, set him up for pretending to be the woman who was on the bus with him, and then watch as he is very sad, and then he realizes that they set him up, and he kind of curses at them. I think basically there's some immediate catharsis to that for him.
Just stares at him.
Stares at them,
mirror.
and they're like, "Did he say fuck you, or did he say something?" They're not sure what he said, but it seems like he said something. To them.
Probably sad and hurt.
They're both obsessed with this guy Josh. Who will drive them around, and then there's is he more into Enid? Is he more into Becky? Enid thinks he's more into him. Becky thinks he's more into her. It ends up kind of being one of the only things that probably ties through most of the comic, and it's at the end he does sort of end up getting up with Becky, and they kind of seem to be would be starting the prototypical American life.
Well, doesn't she? it's in the comic, right, where she literally is like, well, I'll have a go with Josh, and then Becky, you can have sloppy seconds.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like,
And
kind of half joking, but really like, yeah, I am the alpha here.
Yeah.
So I will get Josh first. Like,
right, exactly. And then if I move, then you can, of course.
You can have him, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, snipe. Get in there. Yeah, basically. And then, but there is, unless I'm wrong, is there a moment in the comics where then she goes back to Josh, but now he's like with Becky?
No, I thought they would have that reveal, but no.
It wasn't? Okay.
As far as I can tell, she
I think
never finds out or...
Oh, I thought she does. No?
I thought they were eating together at the end or something.
Yeah, and she sees them
They
together.
are, but yeah, I guess it's not really stated.
Yeah, I don't think he like tells her explicitly like I'm with Becky, but he's like kind of turns her down.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I thought I remembered it that way. But
yeah, I guess that's kind of true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty vague either way.
but there's like stuff again like the personal ad thing like that ends up being obviously much bigger in the movie. Oh, there's the Dan Ellis character who's like he's into fucking the KKK and he's always calling her a Jew, and which also comes across in the movie. But he's sort of a bigger part. There's Johnny Apeshit, who's
and
like
and
the
like
punk
what is his
rocker.
thing? His thing is just that like he's the guy that gets those like bootleg videos. Like when it's like he would be the guy that has Winnebago Man or like whatever. Like that's
Yeah, he is the one, two lesbos torturing a teen in Canada or something. He says like you could see him like rip his fingers off or whatever.
and it's like
He's
the
like, I think I could see him ripping the skin off his fingers,
Yeah,
but it's like such a shitty tape. Yeah.
And in the pre-internet days,
Yeah, just getting them guinea pig videos from Japan, stuff like that. That kind
And
of
in
guy.
the comic book, he also introduces them to a guy who was a Catholic priest who's a pedophile who comes up with computer-generated child porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he later goes on a talk show to defend that guy.
Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck?
And it's so prescient to our debate about AI today.
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the only good use of AI.
that's also the funny thing.
You're on record saying that.
If there's going to be one.
That's also the wild thing.
Yeah, let's make child pornography the best use of artificial intelligence.
Now, when you put it like that,
It
No,
sounds kind of bad.
still,
Huh?
it sounds
Oh,
bad.
no,
but
you're
maybe,
still on it?
But I'm still saying if that's the only use, it's
Sure.
probably better than using it for other
we
things.
gave you the opportunity to walk this back, so
We sure did.
Now I'm gonna.
We sure did.
All right, maybe I will.
He's mad about it. But
I mean,
yeah.
if it's with the premise that the very fraudulent premise in the comic, which is like he makes the AI child porn because he is a pedophile, but so he doesn't do anything about it. But then it's
sort of like a
And then it's
self-gelding.
revealed that
it's revealed that it's like
self-gelding
no,
porn.
he's a disgraced priest because he did do something about it.
Yeah.
And then this is just another aspect of his pedophilia.
Yeah.
Which it was a very funny joke in the graphic novel that his lower third on the TV show was like Dan pedophile friend or something. It was like, it's really good. And then basically right. It's like there's a whole kind of the other runners like Becky and Enid like wanting are they going to move in together? Enid eventually is like I want to just become a new person, and so at the end Becky ends up with Josh, and Enid kind of has her stated goal
And
of
Becky's like, I don't know who I am without you. That sort of sucks. And she's like, whatever.
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
It's like, man,
I
think
want to be
that's
a
your
whole
only friend?
new person.
Okay.
And
Okay.
she does. Oh,
Seems
they
like
meet the
you should
guy.
be kinder.
They meet the guy on the bench. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of other things
Oh,
that
yeah.
cross over. That they're just occurring to me. Norman, who's named Norman in the movie, but
The
in
pants are there as well.
Oh yes, the pants. Yeah. Was there
Yep.
a lot of Ghost World graffiti in the movie?
Didn't
didn't see.
I don't think there was any.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was expecting to see it at least once, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Because that also
Yeah.
happens. Like they're seeing it constantly, and then at one point she like catches the guy doing the graffiti.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of replaced by Norman more.
Yeah,
Sort of becomes
Well, they
like-
replace a lot of. I mean, or
Yeah.
not replace, but yeah,
They do convert, yeah.
they kind of amalgam some people.
I will say, watching the movie, I was like, in my head, because I watched the movie. I saw the movie first, but I watched the movie again, and then I read the graphic novel. But when I was watching the movie, I was like, man, Josh is just like a Seymour in training. Like, they're going to make this guy into Seymour. That makes me so sad. And then when I read the graphic novel, I'm like, oh, they gave half of Josh's scenes to Seymour. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And also shout outs to Brad Renfro as Josh in the movie.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah.
I believe the Winnebago Man got him, right? Sorry.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
But Renfro is perfect in this as a guy that would just like get eaten up by these two gals.
Yeah.
Like, he would be powerless against them, as would I. I think as would a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's actually
They
something
set
too.
your sights on you, and you're done.
That's something too about even the way he's styled is that he's a little sloppy, but not in like a movie sloppy way. You're just like, oh yeah, I've seen a kid who's like kind of scruffy, like it's not like what is it, like Riverdale, like sloppy or like something. It's like this feels a little bit more as stylized as anything is. Like, he feels like fairly real. Even like the character who's in the movie but not in the comic, who's the mullet guy. Like, he feels like, he turns into like the characters from Napoleon Dynamite or whatever, or like Rainn Wilson in Juno or whatever. But like, he actually kind of still feels pretty real, even with his nunchucks.
Yeah. We've all met that person
in the movie. Yeah.
Well, I think part of it is that in the movie, the closer the characters are to Enid and Becky, the more real they are. And the more distant they are, the more sort of like hideous caricatures of humanity they become. You know what I mean? Like, they live in a world where everyone they don't know is sort of ugly or scary or pathetic or gross.
And also the people they know.
And only their, the people that they let in are like real people. But everyone else is this caricature, this monster.
Well, it's true. That's before they know Seymour and they're like watching him in the diner in the movie. Like, Enid leans over and is like, he just ordered a big glass of milk. And then Josh has to be like, it's a vanilla milkshake.
Yeah, it's like, what's your fucking problem, man? You're just like looking for things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She's trying to dehumanize him to justify what she's done,
Yeah.
Josh is like, no, that's just another dude.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's me in the future.
This is pretty much what you're doing to me now. You're doing to him. You're doing something horrible to me too.
I mean, I did like that, considering the way it plays out in the comic, that there is at least that voice of Josh when they're going to the diner being like, this is pretty fucked up what you guys are doing right now. There was the thing or the vignette in the comic that was somewhat in the movie, but like a little less, with the garage sale.
Oh, yeah.
Which was funny to me because I've never seen Daria before this year.
Really?
But I only finally saw a couple episodes of Daria, and I saw the one with the swap meet. And like, I was like, the vibe of the garage sale vignette in Ghost World is just like, it's so Daria, and especially the way that they just like abandon, like Enid just walks away from her stuff and is like, whatever.
Yeah.
But then comes back and it's like, oh, thank God, Goofy Gus.
Yeah.
Like, she's
But then later is like, what happened to my records?
Yeah. It's like, what could you have done with them? That's the garage sale is obviously like a bigger part. I mean, like, it's interesting in the movie it's smaller, but they sort of almost transpose it a little bit to Seymour, I guess. Well, should we get into the movie? We can get into more of the plot of the movie. I mean, it is interesting because the movie, having not seen it in probably 15 years, was like, I just have saw it once, never really returned to it. I guess I was like, I liked it, but I was not like whoa.
I love this movie.
Yeah, me too.
I watched it a lot.
When it didn't hit me the same way. I mean, I liked it a lot this time, and maybe I appreciated it more this time for a reason I'll bring up later. But it is much plottier than the comic, the graphic novel, which was kind of surprising because you could feel like you could do a real slice of life version of this, but it kind of ties.
Well, that's the thing.
It kind of meets it halfway. Yeah,
I remembered it being very slice of life, but then doing the back to back, it's like, oh wait, no, they really like worked to be like, here's this storyline, here's this storyline.
This is planted. It's gonna pay off, and like I was like, so the way
and they crafted a pretty satisfying narrative out of the whole thing. I feel like, like
absolutely.
Reading Ghost World, it's very easy to feel like, oh, if I missed one of these chapters, if I didn't collect the entire run of 8 Ball, I would still get a good feeling of Ghost World. Whereas this, it really feels like one complete object. And I think that speaks to Zweigoff's strengths translating this and recognizing that, like, your typical movie-going audience is going to want a more of a consistent narrative than this sort of omnibus.
But it's still going to be
Ghost
weird.
World presented.
Yeah, It's
and it's still super weird.
Yeah. It does contain the same kind of like it's able to capture that flavor of like almost like non sequitur absurdism of like the pants being there and things like that.
I also remember the opening when she's dancing to like the movie,
Indian
but
music.
I had never remembered the slow pan across everyone dealing with their lives, and I was oh my God, I don't think I've ever seen this part of the scene. I think I've just forgotten it every single time.
Like
bum me the fuck out.
You're in the other room just going Chan Pe Chan Ho.
Yeah, I was like getting ready for it, and I was like, "What's all this?"
Oh no, that's not her bedroom.
God.
What is going on?
Oh Lord,
you just really wanted to get that teenage girl's bedroom, huh, Allan?
Yeah, dude.
By the way, that reminds me. This is
Don't
third
put me
hand,
on your
but-
AI shit.
Got him. Got his ass.
You
Okay.
got yourself.
This is like third hand, but like someone was saying is like it's ridiculous that like white hipsters enjoy that song because that is the cheesiest, like lamest Bollywood track you ever could have chosen.
That person has no joy in their lilife.
And,
I'm gonna tell them.
And it's like, all right, fine. Yes, I am a lame white hipster who enjoys.
It's a fun song.
Chan Pe Chan Ho.
The dancing's great. Looks
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Sorry you can't smile or have joy in your life. That must suck, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm still at entry level 60s Bollywood pop music. I'm sorry, I don't have that deep lore that you do. Nobody's perfect.
And basically we start with that, and then we actually see them graduate, which we don't see which is a really funny scene.
Yeah.
Flip
off the school.
The little
So,
trio.
do you know that rap
duo.
group that was in there?
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah, what's their deal?
Did you catch the characters' names in the credits?
In the credits, it's Vanilla, Ebony, and what was the third one?
Jade.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's
not what you want to see on your call sheet.
No.
We're gonna matriculate. Hard cut. It was like so good. It's so fantastic. Yes, they
almost all the music is used for either like very sad scenes or like absolutely amazing comic bits,
punchlines of some kind. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, former guest of the show, who hopefully will come back for more Clive Barker, but Garen Cockrell, who was on our Nightbreed episode, he is an extra sitting behind Scarlett Johansson during the graduation scene.
Oh, that's funny.
You can only see his tiny little face a little bit. And then later when they go to the like after party, you can see the back of his head while they're having like a discussion.
Shouts out to the back of his head.
Yeah. I texted him. I was like, I recognize that very expressive back of head anywhere.
Right. Yes, they go to the part. Well, so we learn as they get their diplomas that Enid's had her diploma withheld until she finishes an art class because she didn't realize that if you fail, they just don't give you the credit. And so then she signed up for an art class, which becomes like a runner of the movie. With a really fantastic Ileana Douglas performance throughout. It's kind of also when you said a complete object, I just was thinking found art object.
Mother, it's father, or what is it? It's
Father, mirror,
mirror,
and mother.
I think of that every time when I see any bad art, anything.
Well, the thing that was so insane and why that probably hit for me at the time was I think I had just taken my first NYU film class. And the guy who taught it was this guy who similarly made video art, in quotes. And one of the things he showed us was like a guy rolling sensually on a couch for like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then like afterwards was like, isn't that just like so emotional the way he's moving on that couch? I'm
I think he's right, man.
What the fuck are
I
we
think he's
watching?
right, bro. You just don't get it, I think.
So
I don't think you get it.
I was primed for this satire, for sure, for Ileana Douglas as that character.
Yeah.
But the thing about Ileana Douglas's character, right, is that she's always really hard on Enid, even though Enid is clearly like the most talented artist in the class. But she's always calling her out for just doing like things that she has no emotional resonance to. And like the thing is, that is actually what Enid's problem is that she is unable to like genuinely access her emotions. You know, like everyone in this movie is incredibly miserable. Every single person is like so unhappy. You could tell that that's underneath every single character. And like Enid, most of all, she's completely unable to engage in anything in an unironic, undetached fashion. You know, the things that she loves them because they are horrible. The things that make her miserable are the things that she loves. So, you know, Leanna Douglas is actually right when she's like, "Oh, you drew a picture of Don Knotts? Why?"
Yeah. Catching strays again.
You know?
Knotts.
Yeah, right. Still there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah. No offense to Don Knotts. Shout out to the Ghost and Mr. Chicken.
Yes. Oh, good time. Right. Which also that is in the comic. It's a Don Knotts looking guy who they keep saying is a pedo. Who's the guy? They also crank call him, but he's like a professional astrologer or something, right? Who gives her a reading.
Con man, probably.
Yeah, probably con man. Or yeah, exactly. But anyway, so that was part of the comic. That doesn't really come up except for her Don Knotts painting. But yeah, that's like she can't tap into anything. Genuinely. Even like at the graduation party, I was like, oh, that's such a like perfect high school thing to say when you're that detached and ironic of like, this has gone from bad to good back all the way around to bad.
Yeah.
I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
What a
With their like gentle little sway.
Yeah. And they're
listening
like,
to it.
kind of holding hands, but not really. Yeah.
It's
Such a snotty, perfect thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as to your point, Chris, I feel like at the time, I definitely was more like, yeah, Ileana Douglas, pfft. But like this time I am like, yeah, maybe tapping into like your real emotions isn't so bad. And I think that's like what's coloring my reaction to a lot of the things that happen in the movie.
Yeah, she clearly likes the art that's closer to what she does.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, she's still a pretty good teacher. Like, she's trying to reach everyone.
Oh, yeah. What's the character's name? Melora, who's like, I'm taking an acting workshop. And yes, actors are insufferable. And like, that's a perfect, but it's also just like, they're just like, oh, yeah, you think acting is a thing to do? It's like, well, what the fuck else? Like, let them act.
Yeah.
If they want, if Melora wants to act, let her act.
Right. And then the other big sort of overarching thing is that we meet Seymour, played by Steve Buscemi, who is not a character in the comics. He would be like green bearded windbreaker was the character
he's
in
an
the
amalgam.
I mean,
of a couple
he's
guys. Yeah.
The incident
And
with
kind of based off a real person, if I remember correctly.
The incident with the personal ad is in the comic, obviously, but that being like a setup for a whole storyline is obviously an invention of the movie. So.
Yeah, it drops. He's dropped after he kind of tells them, again, he sees them through the window. And they like follow him back to his house, which is set up. They did that with the Satanists at the beginning of the movie. And then they're like, well, we got to follow this guy to where he lives.
Yeah.
And then basically becomes a thing where Enid sort of befriends him
and doesn't even really know why.
Yeah, is just kind of drawn to him.
Yeah.
I think because
in both versions, I think. Well, I'm sorry.
Well, first it's because she's really interested in the record that he sells her and like this one track on it that resonates with her, which is like such a thing that would happen to you when you're that age and you're the type of kid who would go around and like buy weird stuff that you don't know anything about because it looks funny or dumb or weird or whatever. And then you find one thing in it that's like the transcendent example of the genre, like Chot Fet Chan Ho, where you're just like, oh, okay, if I could just find more of this thing that's amazing that's in this. But, you're such a magpie, you don't even know what you like at that age. So you're just picking up different things that are sort of shiny. But that's sort of how she starts to talk to Seymour a little bit more. And also, she does initially have some sense of regret, as much as Enid is capable of having regret, I think, about, prank calling Seymour and setting him up on this fake blind date. And that maybe she recognizes to some extent that Seymour, because Seymour definitely recognizes that he was Enid 20 years ago. 100%. And Enid doesn't see that she's going to become Seymour quite yet. And it's weird to now be an adult man who was like an Enid when he was 20 and is now like a Seymour that he's an adult. But fortunately, I married another Seymour, and that's how we kept ourselves out of trouble. That's why I'm not as sad as he is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, the amount of times he says, like, when I was your age definitely betrays that he heavily relates to her and he sees her as, like, a younger version of him. I also think that Enid is into him, or at least my read was that she sort of appreciates him, whether or not she understands that, right, he was her 20 years ago. Just that, like, he's nothing like, he's on the other side of the teenage 20s. He's beaten down by life.
Yeah.
I think she's like kind of into that, where it's like his confidence is gone. He knows what he likes because he's an adult man, and he's secure in that, even though he's deeply unhappy, and that's like very intriguing to her.
Yeah. Well, it's also what is the phrase for it? Like end of history, like that thing at the end of the 90s. That's also like Fight Club and stuff. It's like there's just this thing in the air of people being like, I'm tired of the vacuous bullshit that is mainstream culture, and so I think in that way she's like, he is not mainstream culture.
Nope.
He's reaching back to something that's like more real, and which also like is what Ghost World is. It's like these specters of a world that existed that is now replaced by plastic and bullshit.
Yeah.
Which in its way is sort of like, that's interesting, but it's also like full of shit.
Yeah.
Like being in the moment is its own thing as well. Which
And I think another thing is, like, you see at the beginning they're watching that stand-up comedian Charlie McCobb.
Yeah.
right.
And they're like, oh, that guy's not really weird. He's wearing fucking Nikes.
Yeah.
But she knows that when she sees Seymour, this guy's legit. This is a genuine weirdo. These are my people. That's how she talks of like weirdos and freaks.
Yeah.
And so I ran out of steam there. But I think Charlie McCobb sets up why she's into Seymour as like an authentic guy.
And also Weird Al at the diner, the waiter who has weird curly long hair and just is like, my name is Allan, and they're like, hey, can we call you Weird Al? And I like that the movie is just like, I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
It's a really great read. It's a really fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and also,
this will not be the worst thing that happens to me today.
at Wowsville. Yeah. To your point about that, also them being your people, because a lot of the movie is about sort of Enid and Becky drifting apart. And there's a moment where Becky's like, oh, the freaks and the weirdos and the blah, blah, blah who come into the coffee shop. And Enid's like, those are our people. And she's like, whatever. And it's like, oh, right, you guys are diverging. Like, one of you is becoming genuinely counterculture, and one of you is like, it'd be fine if I just dealt with normal people all day at my job.
Well, and part of it also is that Becky has to work with these weirdos. She cannot escape them. She can't set her terms, whereas Enid can sort of come and go as she pleases. She's got her freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's very different when you don't have to serve the weirdos.
Yeah, exactly. When you can just sort of investigate them from a distance. Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy about it, and they were like, to me that movie is just a choice between loneliness or assimilation. And that's kind of like ultimately the two choices that we're kind of left with.
Yeah. And I mean, at that time, I remember graduating high school and saying to someone, either I am going to be a successful filmmaker or I'm going to be a hobo. Like in my head, those were the two choices. So, of course, seeing this movie, I'm like, those are the two choices.
Yeah.
Either become, you're the thing you dream of, or you don't want to sell out. You're going to be a hobo. Like,
Just ride the rails, ride the buses.
Or ride a Lexus.
And I think part of it also, looking back at it now, right? Like, I look back at my time in high school when I had like weird friends and our little weird crew. And luckily, I grew up in a big enough town where you could have like a crew if you were all weird. You wouldn't be the only weird kid in your school or whatever.
sure.
And, and you think about being like a punk in a suburban town or a goth, or some of my friends were, or whatever type of weirdo that you were, and being like, oh, that was just an aesthetic choice. Oh, that's just that we weren't like those other kids. But then you look back at it now and you're like, actually, everyone in my crew had deep emotional problems. And that's why we were all weird.
Yeah.
And
that's usually the case.
And Seymour being of the age where he has had that realization that like being weird is actually a problem for him, and that he and Enid both have the same problem of being not smart enough that it'll actually do you any good in your life, but smart enough that it alienates you from other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be an inventor, they're not going to be a successful playwright, but they are not going to enjoy conversation with dumb people. That's all they really get out of it.
Yeah.
Which then makes the trajectory for Seymour in the film kind of interesting, and what again like meets with the idealism of Enid when a woman comes in. But I that's getting a little ahead, I think. But I did want to double back to you talking about working with crazy people, because I mentioned this to Tyler. The guy at the coffee shop, which is basically Starbucks, but they don't use the real brand.
Because fuck them, man.
Is Bruce Glover, Crispin Glover's dad?
Yeah,
the one who's like, I need to see the trivia question.
Yeah,
who also plays Mr. Wint, one of the two gay lover assassins in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
And I got to say, it was a real treat to realize on this watch that that's who that guy was.
Yeah. Maybe the worst character in the whole movie.
Oh, because
that guy?
Yeah, very unlikely.
The guy who just looks up the fucking answer
to trivia.
trivia
I mean,
to
that
get a free
is
coffee. It's
a
like,
pretty
oh my God,
unforgivable
dude.
sin, I would say.
What is a Douglas pouch? Tap, tap, tap,
Yeah,
tap, 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 tap.
And he's
Give
like
me my
tapping
coffee.
into the Matrix.
That is
like,
some
on
real
his
2001. That's what computers look like. A full scale diagram,
Yeah, it's
animatronic like body thing comes up.
and it like highlights it. I'm like, what is this, dude?
Well, it is also funny
Fucking
because
Encarta or
clearly in real life what he did was he typed into text edit,
Yeah.
and then they brought something up from some CD-ROM or something like. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Vile character. The worst.
Yeah.
Should be in the net.
Yeah.
Should have been in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Should have been in the net.
Classic.
The Sandy B's classic, The Net?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Got it.
You ever seen The Net too?
No.
Yeah, awful.
Okay. Good.
Anyways.
Nah. All right.
Really, the
Yeah.
Net 2 was awful.
Yeah, I know. Shocker, right?
You've bowled me over, sir.
Now, wait,
I'm
how
agog.
Listeners, take a moment to collect.
How does it compare to Fear.com?
Oh, I barely remember that.
Hackers, swordfish.
The main
Hackers
thing I
is
remember
amazing.
from Fear.com was the line in the trailer where the female lead says to Steven Dorff, just promise me one thing, that you won't go to that website.
That's good.
That always stuck with me.
And then does she say something like, some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill?
Yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately not. That probably could have turned the movie around. You know that was an adaptation of Ringu?
Fear.com was?
Yeah, they just switched it from a VHS tape to a website.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah. That does make sense.
I'm glad that they went more faithful on the next attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gore Verbinski really fixed that up.
Well, yeah. So shall we? Okay. So the Seymour Enid relationship kind of grows, but there is a point where she's sort of friends with him under the false pretenses of like, I just met him at a garage sale. I didn't try to specifically ruin his day one time. I didn't go out of my way to hurt him.
I'm
Yeah,
not trying to
and
make up for it.
But then they like hang out. She comes to his weird 78
record
record
party.
collector
Yeah.
party where David Cross is there.
That's such a good scene.
David Cross is there as like the guy that knows how to talk to women in quotes, but clearly doesn't either.
That's a good.
But the guy who at least will talk to women, and so in that sense is one step ahead of the game.
Right, exactly.
and Enid abandons Becky on the couch with him at a certain point.
And she
Yeah.
definitely pleads with her, like
Please,
with her
no, don't
eyes
go.
and her voice,
Don't
like,
you
"Don't do
leave
this
me."
to me.
But
This guy is a predator potentially. What are you doing?"
I do love that initial interaction though, where David Cross sits on the arm of the couch. Is like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And Scarlett Johansson says, "No." It's like, "Oh, you're pretty cold. Oh, that's pretty cold."
Sorry, Buscemi's roommate is the station manager from Frasier. Just gonna put
Yeah,
that
that guy
Oh,
is
okay.
hilarious in every
He's-
very small scene he's in.
very funny in the movie. Yeah, I mean the cast of this movie is loaded.
I think I don't remember exactly, but I think many of the record collectors are played by other comics artists.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
And
Oh,
did
yeah.
you see at the initial record sale, the first record that she pulls out is the R. Crumbs band?
Yes,
Right.
that was really good.
And Terry Zwigoff was in that band with him.
Oh, that's so
That's funny.
Yeah.
And I love Buscemi just being, oh, no, that's not very good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The way to get his sort of Klaus bang on himself again to do it one more time. So, yes, their relationship kind of continues. She's hanging out with him one night when a call comes through, and it's the actual woman from the personal ad, and who he's like, I got screwed with once. I'm not going to do it again. So Enid sort of takes it upon herself to without saying that, no, I was me fucking with you, convinces him to call her back. They kind of start a successful relationship, but Enid is jealous of this. Like, meanwhile,
successful is a strong word.
I mean, it seems to be going well.
I don't know. He seems to be.
They almost made it to 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Almost made it to 2 months, and he's
I
wearing
think he's
jeans
more or less
now.
happy for attention, but I don't think he seems happy to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the vibe I got from it.
Well, so coming back to that thing is it seems like Seymour's at a point in his life where he's like, I mean, I can settle for it. The fact she doesn't want me to get rid of my 78s and memorabilia and stuff is a win.
She doesn't understand it, but she's not making me get rid of it. So
see, Alan, this is a lesson you haven't learned yet.
To settle? Yeah, I guess not.
As the single man on the podcast,
proud of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's too early for Funko Pops.
I can eat cereal whenever I want.
But the first time that Enid goes into his room of memorabilia, it definitely feels like someone being like, oh my God, look at all your Funko Pops. And he's like, I shouldn't have so many Funko Pops.
I mean, the line of the movie is, let's make a list of your interests. Why? I hate my interests.
Yeah, right.
Which brings me to my ultimate question now that we've all watched the movie at the age that we are. Totally relate to Seymour way more than the girls, right?
Always. Yes.
Yeah.
So Seymour. That's why I was so
Collecting
sad.
Seymour is probably the most relatable character ever put on film.
Yes.
yes.
I'm going to say.
I mean, it hurts, but yeah, it's true.
It's sometimes films hold up mirror to yourself.
Yeah. You just gotta change out his 78s from my VHS collection.
Boom.
Same person,
There
bro.
you go.
Yeah, exactly. Just whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
whatever your episode of Guys is, then
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, fantastic. He's so good. But so they start a relationship. Enid is jealous. And then it sort of culminates in a way that I guess it's sort of mirroring. It's less weird in the comic because Josh is around their age. I mean, she's legal technically. Obviously, she's 18, but her and Seymour have like a one night drunken hookup. And Seymour immediately is just like, and she's like drunkenly being like, I could move in here and I'll do all the stuff that she does.
Yeah. Before they hook up, she's like, I could be a roommate. Like, I could clean up. I could live here. Blah, 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 blah. You know, just...
Yeah,
and then
like, cool,
they actually...
man.
Yeah, this is after she found out her college scholarship got rescinded and Becky doesn't want to live with her anymore. And she can't... The only other option she had... Oh, yeah, and her former stepmother is remarrying her father. And so she can't live at home anymore. She's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, things are going poorly. Right, and I guess we should say the art project is the thing that she got from Seymour, which was the original Cook's Chicken sign, which is super racist, and she uses it as sort of a found art object, and like all of a sudden,
and I guess he doesn't get in trouble for that. It sort of seems like
I thought it's implied that he's like fired at the end.
He gets called in by his boss at the end.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't really say.
Well, because there's a moment where
to me it
probably does
implies
get
that he
fired.
got fired.
Yeah, I guess he does.
because it's literally
because also when he talks to his therapist at the end, he's like, "Well, I guess things are okay since my life went to shit."
Yeah,
because he dumps his girlfriend that he finally has.
Right,
he loses his
he
job.
Calls her up the next day,
goes to her job,
and
is,
that's right. Yeah.
While she's closing a deal.
So we're sort of going out of order, but so anyhow, basically, like Enid clearly being like, I just need
attention. I need
something,
an outlet here.
So they do it, and then he's like completely kind of smother cuddling her and being like, "Did you mean what you said about moving in here?" And
she's like,
Enid,
yeah, no, I was just saying stuff.
Right, and he wakes up the next day. Cool. She's already gone, and he's like, "Yep, time to blow up my life."
Yeah, she's probably getting all her stuff. So let me go get rid of the old girlfriend.
Yeah, I gotta clear the path here.
Yeah.
Well, and it's
that would have been a great time for his roommate to pop in and be like, "Hey, man, don't do that."
Hey, you should. It doesn't seem like that's that roommate's deal. Well, so I was gonna say the reason why I definitely think he got fired is because the cut from into that scene where he's at work is the roommate being like, "Well, think of it like this: your life can't get get any worse. And then literally it's like, hey, can you come in my office?
Yeah, that is true.
That seems
That
to
is
be
true.
the implication there. But yeah, so he blows up
and then
his
at the
life.
end, he gets picked up from therapy by his mom, which implies
So
he's
he's
had to
probably
move back
living
in his
there,
mother.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
he's
it's-
not able to.
Now, my
Goddamn
read, I
justice for
couldn't
Seymour, man.
quite tell at the end if like they imply he had like a true mental break or something, because he's like talking to the therapist like, I think maybe I could get back into the real world or something. Like he says something to that effect, and I was like,
I don't think
how
so.
much
'cause
further did he
he's
spiral?
pretty sad in the hospital, but he's still more or less the same.
Yeah, he seems okay.
He's just like, yeah, I guess exactly what I thought might happen, and yeah, this does suck. I think he wants to maybe do something about it. I think maybe it's cautiously optimistic.
the therapy,
But
is
his
like,
life still absolutely
on the
sucks.
road to healing.
Also-
maybe
Also, for listeners who didn't see the movie, he did not end up in the hospital through like a suicide attempt or anything like that. He went to Josh's place of business because he knows that Enid has a crush on Josh, and he tries to knock over a display. Can't quite do it.
Can't do it at all.
The guy who hangs out there with a mullet, shirtless, with nunchucks, takes the nunchucks and starts strangling.
Yeah.
and he's like,
Seymour
hold on,
with them.
citizens arrest.
Yeah. Call the cops.
So that's why he's in the hospital. It's because he was strangled with nunchucks. Not anyhow.
Yeah,
And there's a nice
it's an epidemic in America.
Of course. And yeah, there's a nice sort of coda on their relationship where, because she's been avoiding him, he's been calling her a bunch, and then like I guess so he goes to, before that he also goes to visit Becky in the apartment that Enid was supposed to move into, but has like bailed on, and she's like, oh, that's him. He finally finds out that they were the original like classified ads caller. And she shows him how like she drew him in the diner looking all sad, and then when she goes to visit him in the hospital, she brings in. She's like, "Did you look at the rest of the book?" And then there's like a bunch of "You're like my hero," and so there's this nice
I guess that makes
ending.
up for you ruining my life.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
okay.
That photo of me is that drawing of me is really good.
Sort of favorable, sure.
Yeah, I guess I
Okay.
had to sell all my records and move out of my apartment, but this
Cool.
totally evens out now.
Yeah.
But
He did not sell those records. He kept those records.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
They are at a basement or in a storage
Yeah.
facility. Or,
He
yeah.
did not sell those.
Well, there is a and it's-
Honestly, if he sold those off, he probably would be better off. He needs a clean slate.
it's true. Are they not an anchor to holding him down?
Maybe.
Yeah, they're an albatross around his neck.
There is a really funny scene much earlier in the movie where Enid's trying to get him hooked up with people, and they go to like a show at a bar.
Oh,
and
Blues Hammer, baby.
Blues Hammer. I've been working the like
God,
it's,
it's so crazy.
it's really
It's
good.
so crazy.
And he like
I love it.
she gets a woman to come over and talk to him, and then she starts dancing and like spills a beer on him immediately. It's just great. They can't, or well, he does the thing where it's like, well, technically that was more ragtime, not in the Scott Joplin way, but more in the it's like, oh
And
my
then,
god.
And then
Yeah.
she's still kind of willing to be. He's like, oh well, if you like blues, you should really stay for the headliner, Blues Hammer.
Who
which
are
are-
four white guys?
Yeah, talking about picking cotton all day long. God, beautiful.
Yeah,
With frosted
wailing
tips
on
that-
some
Yeah.
Gibsons.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe one of the funniest scenes ever made.
Yeah. Blues Hammer is a great, when you're talking about the songs being either sad songs or gag songs.
Yes.
Blues Hammer was a great gag
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. It's funny, in my mind, for some reason, I thought the lead singer of Blues Hammer was the guy who earlier in the movie goes, hey, you want to go listen to some reggae tonight?
Oh yeah.
But I loved realizing it was a different guy and that the guy had frosted tips, because like that's such a perfect 2001 touch.
Yep.
Is that the blues rock guy has frosted tips?
Yeah. I mean, and then basically Becky is waiting for her outside of Seymour's hospital. They kind of have put a bow on the in the way that in the comic book there really isn't much of a resolution other than the fact they've kind of grown apart.
Yeah.
That they like put a bow on like, okay, I'm not going to live with you, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next. And then she just kind of takes the bus out of town. Going to go start a new life
Yeah.
somewhere.
Becky is much
Goes bust out.
stronger in the movie than in the comic.
Yeah.
Because she's less reliant on her.
Yes.
But it is also because she assimilates much faster.
They do.
in the
They
comic.
kind of seed her like going to buy like, I want these blue plastic cups.
Dude, her
and like
looking at the apartments and then like showing the ironing boards. Like, look how cool this is. I was
Oh,
like,
man.
man, that's maybe the saddest thing I've ever seen in my
that
life.
is kind of that was a tough scene.
Oh man,
It is
Yeah, that
interesting.
was a bummer.
And to your point, Chris, about like the people who are emotionally disturbed, or maybe that's the wrong way to put it. But the weird people in high school, it's like I think there's a lot. You can kind of see why they're friends from their home life, where it's like, oh, so clearly, like Enid. I'm assuming her mom passed away, and then her dad's like married several other women, and then they keep kind of reaccurring. And then like
another
Becky's
great scene, him eating that fucking bagel
that he's been
jelly, dude. He's like,
good.
it's really good.
Good. You know who has another bagel place? Which also shout out to
Dad
Terry.
is such a Bob Balaban, it's such a
Yeah.
feckless spaz as my dad. He's so good in this role.
He's so good. Where he'll come into the room and he's like,
Where's
Oh,
my
spatula?
Okay, yeah, we mind my
The
spatula.
blue one.
The blue is so good. Shout out to Terry Garr as the stepmom who returns. So good. And then, but also I was gonna say, and then Becky, like in the comic, it's like she's raised by her grandmother, which I don't know if that was specifically shouted out in the movie.
I don't think so.
But it was like very clear.
I think the
based
closest
on
we got one shot in Becky's house where she was on her couch, and it seemed to be kind of old-timey decorated. That was
Yes.
as close as we got to that.
that's about.
But,
But
because Seymour took up so much of the film, it took away a lot of the Becky and Enid relationship.
Yeah.
After Act 1, Becky kind of got slid to the back burner.
Yeah.
Which makes sense in the themes of the movie.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
It is
Yeah.
different.
But yeah, it's very clear in the graphic novel like why these two very cynical people have found each other based on their home lives, why they're such a good match, I suppose. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm looking at the clock. We got roughly 10 minutes. So actually, I'm going to smush, because I suspect that we all liked both the comic and the movie. So I think everyone should just sort of talk about their feelings about both and then vote which was better, comic or movie. So we'll start with the guest. Chris, please give us your final thoughts and your vote, which was better, comic or movie.
I think I want to talk about the ending of the movie really quick, just that I think that Enid did not get on a bus and go somewhere. I think that bus to nowhere that the old man got on and then she got on was death. I think that Enid commits suicide at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
okay.
I've often thought that about the ending. Yeah.
other than that, I think that they're both definitely worth your time. I find Klaus to be a little bit chilly for my taste as a comic artist. He's got that sort of Gen X remove, and I think also the gals are a little bit harder to like. So I like the movie more than the comic. I think this is definitely a movie that's better than the book.
Oh! All right.
I'm throwing it down.
All right. Gents?
I mean, I saw the movie first. I've seen this movie many, many times. I think it is. I forget this, but I think it is actually one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
So I think the comic is pretty decent. It is much harder to engage with because it is much more episodic, and what it's trying to say is, I don't know, it's not as easy to glean as it is in the movie. Which maybe they're not even saying totally the same things, but I enjoy the movie so much more. I think it's a perfect movie.
All right. So we got 2 votes movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the comic, which again I had not picked up until yesterday, is totally worth your time.
Yeah.
It's like really well done, and the art's great.
I've always loved Klaus's art.
Yeah, it looks
close.
great. There's a million little jokes in it. Like, it's really funny. It is much darker, which is funny to say about a movie that's extremely dark. But you know, again, very slice of life, very different. I would probably also side with the movie. I think it's like just works. It's interesting. It's really interesting to read the comic and then watch the movie in such quick succession where it's like, wow. I mean, they really and it's funny, again, to say about such a small movie that's incredibly dark.
Yeah.
They movied it up, which is wild.
Yeah,
like
sculpting that movie out of that comic is kind of nothing short of genius. Like, it is wild.
Really amazing. And I think it makes a lot of sense that, like, obviously Zwigoff, who had done another Crumb, right? So was obviously in that world and like could make those sort of, you know, and then having Klaus as co-writer makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just sort of a miracle that, like, Thora Birch existed at that time in history to perfectly play this. It's like the perfect time. Like, wow, we're so lucky that this thing became a movie at the time that she was like the right perfect age and and same with Scarlett Johansson and Bella Van.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second.
Oh yes,
I just wanted to mention, I forgot that when she dyed her hair green and she was wearing that black leather biker jacket, she looked exactly like my girlfriend freshman year of high school. So it really, like, that's another way that this movie sort of wormed its way into my brain. Like,
Oh, sure.
Don't you know Punk's dead? No.
Dude, Pat Healy just leaning in.
Healy.
That scene is amazing.
He's really so good.
He's like, oh, you're so punk rock.
Whoa.
It's like, oh, you're such an asshole.
Can't you tell that it's like an ironic throwback or something?
And she's getting mad because he's doing the same thing she does to literally everyone else.
100%. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
Pat Healy, who I've almost bought Blu-rays off of Facebook Marketplace from several times. I reach out to him and he's like just recently downsized to a condo in a different part of town. He's like, I'm selling all these Criterions. Who wants them?
Hope he's doing well.
Nice.
Anyways, the movie's better. No.
So the movie's won at this point. But I think for me, just because I did read the book way back, 20 years ago, but like once. And as with Allan, like I probably saw the movie 3, 4, 5 times around the time it came out. So it made a much greater impression on me. So I think I had a lot more of sort of like, I don't know what to call it, apart from maybe like time capsule shock.
Yeah.
Rewatching the movie and just being like, oh, like my feelings about everyone in this movie, like as you're saying, like I'm like, oh, I do side with the older guy in this instead of the teenagers.
Yeah.
Like was much more dramatic to me.
You're either a Brad Renfro or a Seymour, man. The only two choices in life.
You come to a fork in the road.
So I actually did something where after I watched the movie and kind of had like this crisis of being like, oh, I really thought of this as sort of like a 5-star movie in my mind, and I don't know how I feel about this. I rewatched like the first 20 minutes, and I like smiled and laughed and I was like, okay, like I do think it is a very solidly made movie. I love the actors. Obviously, like at the time, I had a huge crush on Thora Birch, and like now I can still see great actor. Scarlett Johansson, obviously great actor. Still in the kind of low mumble part of her
Always
career.
had that voice.
Got that raspy voice, man. It's a gift.
Buscemi, great. Bruce Glover, great. No, but like no, as we're saying, like all the sort of like characters who populate, great. So, a conflicted. I give it to the movie because I do think it is a greater achievement, maybe. But I do think that the comic is fairly fascinating.
No, yeah, of course.
If a lot kind of
comic's great.
Yeah.
kind of edgier, like in the way that like I think like you could see Todd Solondz making the comic like faithfully. Like I feel like
Oh, what a bummer that would be.
but
dude.
yeah, but it would be
It would
fucking
be so fucking sad.
fucking tough to sit through.
It's already sad. It's already sad, man.
Yeah, it's already sad enough.
And
Give,
so,
me,
yeah,
give me the
as-
Sophia Coppola before you give me the Todd Solondz version of this, dude.
There's no gilded cage, though.
I guess that's true.
But yeah,
wouldn't
so as with
Pound is the
everyone,
cage.
I think they're both
town.
very very much worth your time if it seems interesting. But yeah, I go unanimous on movie. I think the movie is better. All right, so another win for movie. We will be. We will be.
Take that, you fucking dumb books.
Movies.
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 Right, because we work at a movie store.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, movie stores still exist. We'll be back next month to discuss Christmas Picture. Hopefully, we're going to be talking Polar Express, so you really don't have to read anything.
Just
you
look at the pictures.
maybe slam a jam some Polar
You do have
Express.
to watch Polar Express, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of a non-negotiable.
It's the deal we made with ourselves.
Will I tell my Glenn Ballard story in the episode? I guess you'll have to tune in to find out.
Wow, baby.
Chris, what you got to plug?
I've got to plug your favorite bad movie podcast, the only podcast that's brave enough to ask a question. This movie's so bad, why do you like it so much? Every week we got a new guest talking about their favorite movie. We've had Justin on previously. For any horror literature fans in the listening audience, we had Gretchen Felker Martin come on a couple months ago to talk about The Brotherhood of the Wolf, her choice for favorite bad movie. It's a lot of fun. We got a different type of movie every week. We got a different guest every week. We got games, segments, co-hosted with my wife Anna and my old friend Greg Bossy. You don't want to miss it. You can find us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. You can find us on Blue Sky. Let's say you're a Blue Sky person. That's where we're at right now. You can find us on there at yourfavoritebadmoviepod.bsky.social.
Sweet. Thanks for being on, Chris.
Thank you. It was a great time to be here. Great to meet everybody. Great to talk about the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, likewise, dude.
So keep checking in on the Skylight Books podcast series. We'll have some good stuff for you, and have a happy Thanksgiving holiday season, bloody blue.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Skylight Books podcast series. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to check out the book featured in this episode, or others, please visit skylightbooks.com. If you're in the Los Angeles area, stop by for one of our live in-person author events. You can find a calendar on our website. If you like this podcast, leave us a review. It really helps us out. Our music is by Duck the Piano Wire. Till next time.
Hey. Just put in sounds of oh shit, I fucked it up. Damn.
Oh, it's about to start raining at the grocery store.
All right, stop.
I was going to say put in sounds of him eating that fucking bagel, dude. It is so funny.
I don't know what's worse,
He's just
that
like,
or the fried chicken.